Years ago, I had a client who called me up and wanted to talk to me about settlement negotiations. He told me that a neighbor of his just settled his case for $5 million. He had been involved in a car accident case, suffered significant fractures to his legs, and received $5 million as a settlement. My client told me that based upon that settlement and the numbers that he heard from his neighbor, he believed that the value of his case was at least double, if not triple, based upon his own injuries. Is that how attorneys actually go ahead and put a value on your particular injuries? By looking at a neighbor's settlement in a car accident case when compared to the injuries that you suffered as a result of improper medical care? You want to know the answer? Come join me for a walk through the neighborhood as I share with you the answer to that question. Hi, I'm Gerry Oginski. I'm a New York medical malpractice and personal injury attorney. The short answer is no, absolutely not. That is not how we place a value of your injuries. We do not rely on, and under no circumstance would we ever rely on, something that you heard about from a neighbor and what they were able to accomplish in their own particular case. You may be thinking, wait a second. They suffered significant fractures to their femurs as a result of this terrible car accident, and they were able to get $5 million. So clearly the injuries that you had, you believe, are much, much worse than these particular injuries that you heard about from your neighbor. And therefore, your thinking is that your injuries clearly have a value that is much higher than what those injuries were worth. And the answer is, no, that's not how we value particular injuries. Let me give you a little insight into what we do and what I would ask this particular client if you were to ask me that question again today. So here's the answer. First of all, how old was the person who suffered these injuries? Oh, he was only 20 years old. I see. So he was just starting his college career, and he was a track star, is that right? Oh, very interesting. So now here's someone who had a promising track career, certainly in college, and who knows, maybe he would have gone on to the Olympics, or maybe he would have done something professionally as an athlete. But now, because of these severe fractures to his femur, he suffered these horrible injuries. Now, because he has, let's say, another 50 years of life to expect as a result of his young age, he's now going to live with limitations and scarring and disabilities from those fractures for the next 50 years. Because now you are 65 years old, you are not running track, you are not in athletic competitions, and now the limitations and disabilities you experience are going to be significantly different than what this young man had to go through. There's one more thing. Actually, there are many more things. But one of the questions I will ask is, did this gentleman, this young 20-year-old, actually undergo surgery to fix those fractures? He had to have surgery, open surgery. It's called open reduction internal fixation, not just on one femur, but on both femurs, where they also had to put in hardware, titanium hardware, and screws and pins and plates to put all the bones back together. And now he's going to have that hardware in his body for the remainder of his life, and there is still the possibility that if the hardware becomes painful, he will need to have another surgery to remove some or all of that hardware. That is significant, because at some point in the future, he may in fact need additional surgery to address those issues. That is something that you did not consider. Now, what else is a problem? Well, younger people tend to heal better than older people with similar injuries. So maybe you, as a 65-year-old, now have to have much more pain medication. Now you're confined to a wheelchair. Now, even though you underwent surgery, or maybe you couldn't have surgery because of your age and because of your other prior existing medical conditions, now you have other complications because you can't get up and about as much as you used to. Now you have vascular problems. The blood is not flowing through your legs and your veins as well as it used to, especially since you are sitting most of the time now, and you no longer have the ability to get up and walk around as you used to. Let's also talk about lost earnings. The 20-year-old, although he was in college, was working part-time, and he was earning a good amount of money in the summers for what he was doing as a lifeguard. And now he lost a certain amount of money. He lost thousands and thousands of dollars because of his limitations and disabilities and inability to work over the summers. Okay, but you as a 65-year-old, you are retired. You have no claim for lost earnings. So the value of your injuries are going to be significantly less. Let's jump back for a second to the question that I raised in the title of this video. Just because a neighbor of yours settled a case for a significant amount of money does not necessarily equate to the injuries that you suffered. And there are many things that go into understanding the true value of your injuries. So we don't look at it and say, okay, this 20-year-old who suffered fractures, now he was able to receive a $5 million settlement, compared to you, a 65-year-old who suffered various injuries during the course of surgery, and now you are limited from doing your daily activities. How is that different? What problems do you have on an ongoing basis? What limitations do you have? Here's something you may not have considered. The county where you bring your lawsuit has an effect on the value of your injuries. Your age has an effect. What limitations and disabilities and ongoing medical care and treatment has an effect. The amount of available insurance coverage that the doctor has and the hospital has a dramatic effect. If the doctor only has a limited insurance policy, let's say $1 million, hypothetically, then that is the maximum amount you are ever going to achieve through a settlement. And that is going to be a problem. So maybe in the case involving your neighbor, there was substantial insurance coverage. Just because you heard of a neighbor or a friend or relative having settled the case for a particular amount of money, I guarantee you will not know all the details and all the factors that went into achieving that particular settlement. There are many things that I guarantee you will be unaware of and not know the details to. Why? Because you were not privy to the settlement. You were not privy to all the facts of the case and all the underlying legal issues that occurred in that case. Or maybe your own actions caused and contributed to your ongoing injuries. And you're saying, wait a second, you mean if I contributed to my own injuries, it's going to reduce the value of my case? The answer is most definitely. If it turns out that the facts reveal that you somehow caused or contributed to your own injuries, whether by not following through on the doctor's instructions, or whether doing something else that caused and contributed to your injuries, and the doctor had nothing to do with it, alternatively, they may say, okay, even if the doctor did cause and contribute to your injuries, so did you, Mr. Patient. And as a result of that, we should not be fully responsible for the amount of money you believe you are entitled to receive. So don't think for a second that just because someone else in your neighborhood or friend or family member has achieved a certain level of a settlement based upon their particular injuries and their type of case, does that equate to your type of injuries in your particular case? I like to say that every single case is different, and even if, and I'll give you a great example, let's say you had two people undergoing the same exact improper medical care, suffering injury as a result of that. You are 65, the other person's 20 years old. There would be significant gaps between the value of your injuries and the value of that 20-year-old. So why do I share this quick information? I share this with you because this comes up from time to time where somebody hears about a friend or a relative or a neighbor who underwent a settlement, who had a settlement, got a great result, and now you're thinking, oh, my injuries are worth so much more, which means my case is worth so much more and I know I'm going to get so much more. Well, the reality is, maybe yes, but in all likelihood, the answer is no. So why do I share this quick information with you? I share it with you just to open your eyes to help you understand how these types of cases work in the state of New York. You know, I recognize you're likely watching this because you have questions or concerns about your own matter. Well, if your matter did happen in New York and you are thinking about bringing a lawsuit, but haven't done so yet because you still have questions that need to be answered, what I invite you to do is pick up the phone and call me. You know, I answer questions like yours every single day, and I'd love to chat with you. You can reach me at 516-487-8207 or by email at Gerry, Gerry, at oginski-law.com. That's it for today's video. I'm Gerry Oginski. Have a fantastic day.